channel. Hey, you know what time it is, No Press fam? The blue. Welcome everyone to another episode of The Beatdown, the segment and channel where two worlds collide. I am your host, Class, and this is my co-host, Biggs, doing it big, baby. And as a friendly reminder, if you guys enjoy our content, you know what you can do? You can share, you can like, you can subscribe, or you can turn on your notifications to get the latest episodes. And we keeping it 100 subs, guys. And today's topic, we're talking about vampire hunters. And I'll be representing Marvel Comics, Eric Brooks, aka Blade.
I got two new hands, Blade. I don't know which one to use to kill you with. Ah!
All right, brief origin story time. Now, this might be a little bit of a graphic story, or very interesting and a little disturbing story, but let's get into it, shall we? So, in the beginning, let's start off with his mother. His mother was sadly a working girl. And one day she got pregnant, doesn't know the baby daddy, but eventually, and she worked at this brothel called Vanity Brothel. Eventually, one day she's getting into labor, and she goes to her doctor. Doctor turns into a vampire and then actually mind controls her. And that's why she wasn't able to scream or struggle or anything like that while he was biting into her. Bear to mind, this character was Deacon Frost. And he's was the only one at the time capable of being able to mind control people. So he was feeding on her, and of course during that time, young Eric was still a baby inside the wound and also attached to the umbilical cord, which meant that he was also getting the vampire's blood as he was feeding off of her. So now Eric was getting vampire blood into his system. Now Deacon, the vampire, finishes off the mother and is about to take care of the son, but luckily the mother's co-workers show up out of nowhere and he runs off. They raise him for a little while. Around age 9, he meets Jamal Afari. At the time he met him, he was actually seeing this old guy going against 3 vampires, and he took him down. So Jamal decided to take Eric at the time under his wing, training him in the skills of hunting vampires. And then that's when he got the name Blade, and thus that is the brief origin story of Eric Brooks, aka Blade. Powers, abilities, and feats. Alright, let's get into it, guys. Sorry if I say these wrong sometimes. These are very difficult at times to pronounce. Damper or Dampire physiology. It just means that he was made by a vampire, and even though he's human. Superhumanly, acute senses, superhuman sense of smell, superhuman strength. This is the superhero cocktail: superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman agility, superhuman stamina, superhuman durability, regenerative healing factors, prolonged lifespan, immunity to vampires, vulnerabilities, master martial artist, expert marksman, expert swordsman, weapons proficiency, and hypnosis. Yeah, he has the ability to hypnotize people. His weapons of choice is, I don't have the entire list sadly, but I got a few of them here and there. We got the silver stake, we got Blade's sword itself, he's got the handguns, also heavy machine guns as well, fully automatic weapons, shuriken. This one's an interesting one. This one's called an EDTA. And I'm just gonna butcher it, so let's just go with me on this one. I'm just gonna say it one time. Ethylene-diaminiteteracidic acid. I hope I said that right. UV light. Alright, and now here are some of the feats. Now, I don't want to get into... so I'm talking about the Blade character in the movies because I don't really know too much of the Blade character in the comics, and I don't want to get into that character because I want it to be somewhat of a fair fight. So I'm going to talk about some of the movies' abilities that he's done. And I'm probably just going to focus more on the Blade 1, but then talk about the top feats he's done in Blade 2 and Blade 3. So Blade 1, he defeated Deacon Frost, of course. He took out 23 vampires in a club. He took out at least 10 guys in a tomb. He defeated, and now, so here are the other traits. He defeated creatures that ate both human and vampires and were stronger than them. Okay, that's crazy to beat. He defeated a redder kind of version of Dracula. And lastly, he defeated Nomak, who was the father or the creator of those hybrids that could eat vampires and humans. All right, guys, so the end game. Let's talk about his martial art skills. That's gonna be the benefactor. Because if you take into account that if, let's say, Van Helsing or Blade are disarmed, or in close range, you're gonna have to give it to the boy. Okay, he's got obviously a lot of super abilities. Plus, he's a martial art expert, which means he can throw down with the best. Sadly, Van Helsing's fighting skills is only limited to the time, and obviously during that time, he wasn't learning about martial arts. He was learning whatever he could learn from, I don't know, the Vatican or something. But at the end of the day, Blade has been able to master his skills in a martial art way, which means he probably knows how to disarm him, or probably knows how to take him close range. With his super abilities, he will probably put, Van Helsing down in that way. Another thing to add is that, well, yes, granted, both fought Dracula, their own version of Dracula, and they won. You have to remember that Blade also has that little extra bonus, which is that he fought a character or a monster that could eat humans and vampires, or can feed off of them. So, and was a lot stronger than him. Like, he really was, he really took on a big guy. And Dracula was stronger than him too, but also to be able to say he took two of those big guys down, and he took on Deacon Frost. I gotta say that Blade has shown from time to time that when the big giants show up with all the ultimate powers, his ultimate strength, or ultimate advantage, he was able to take them out firsthand, no problems. Let's talk about environment-wise. If it's the daytime, nighttime, still a chance for Blade to win this. But in the daytime, he has the ultimate chance of winning this, because clearly you know that Blade, he can walk in the daylight. And sadly, if you want to go with the Van Helsing version in the movies, he needs the moon his full moon in order to become a werewolf. So he only has his regular human abilities to go on, or somewhat slightly super strength and stuff. And I gotta say, with that's not gonna be enough to go against Blade, who can probably take it to him all day. And let's not forget, Blade is laser focus ability and super speed. His acute senses will help him avoid any kind of attack moves that Van Helsing might throw at him from range-wise. If he tries to shoot a weapon at him, if he tries to hit him with a weapon. Remember, that sword that Blade possesses, that sword he has is pretty durable, which means he could probably dodge any weapon, old modern time weapons that Van Helsing has coming at him. So Blade-wise, range, defense, he's got it covered. Daytime, it's everything for him. He's got the advantage there. Van Helsing is human. If he doesn't get a full moon that night, or if he doesn't get a full moon at all, and it's the day or nighttime and he doesn't get that full moon, he's at a very slight disadvantage, or a big disadvantage, because Blade he's still human, which means he could fracture something in his body, he can make him bleed. He's not going to be able to heal, so all bleeding out or breaking something in his body where Van Helsing has to catch his breath, Blade's just going to see that opening, and then he's going to get the W that way. And I'll be representing the vampire hunter, also known as Van Helsing.
Now we disarmed.
You can try.
Brief origin story time. Now we're gonna do the interpretation of the movie with Hugh Jackman, if you aren't aware of 2004's Van Helsing. So let's get started. Gabriel Van Helsing at the time wasn't aware of or forgotten who he was, and was trying to figure out who he was, and he went to a holy church to figure it out, and that's where he met the Knights of the Holy Order, and they decided they'd help him figure out who he was, but at the same time they would train him into becoming one of the best hunters alive. So he's not only efficient in hunting vampires, he's also efficient in hunting other things as well, but in the old school classic, I believe he was only efficient in hunting vampires. So the church decides to train him because they were aware of what was out there in the real world, which was supernatural creatures, monsters walking among us. And they needed somebody, a champion, a warrior, a hero, to defend people who couldn't defend themselves. So they gave all the skills to Gabriel, and Gabriel decided to go take on those monsters. And he didn't just take on vampires, like I said, he took on like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, werewolves, and so on and so forth. So give the boy credit, the man is crazy to be doing stuff like that. But eventually he figures out who he is, which happens to be some immortal guy who happened to create, Dracula. But you'll have to watch the whole movie to figure all that out. But anyways, that is the brief origin story of Van Helsing. Powers, abilities, and feats. Let's get into it, guys. Okay, let's start with the weapons. He has a custom revolver. I had to really do a lot of research to figure all these out. A Colt variant of Browning M1917. Hope I said that right. Remington 870. A gas-operated automatic crossbow. That's pretty cool. I think it's called a dojo weapons. Sorry, and they're like ninja darts, but no, actually, they're not like ninja darts. Completely wrong on that. You have to watch the movie. It's pretty interesting. Grappling gun, a silver werewolf stake, and lastly, a silver crucifix. Skills-wise, he has hand-to-hand combat, firearms, melee weapons, athletics, stealth, tracking, hunting, occult lore, religion, longevity, peak physique, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced speed, pretty much the superhero cocktail. Detect evil, expert marksman. And here are his feats, and this is based on the movie. He took down pretty much a Solomon Grundy version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He blew up a castle full of vampires with like a bright light, or UV light. He took out one of Dracula's brides, and he took down Dracula himself. Okay, the end game on this one. So height and range, distance is going to be his best friend. The reason I say this, or it's going to be his companionship in this situation, because let's get real. Getting up close with Blade, it's going to be slightly a chance that he's taking too big of a risk. I mean, he could disarm him. He also has those supernatural strength and speed and martial arts expertise that might make him a little not formidable enough to take him down completely. He might be able to take a few jabs here and there with his weapons, but eventually if he gets him disarmed and it happens, we've seen in the movie that he loses one of his weapons and he has to act quickly. So if he doesn't have his weapon on him in that moment, if he loses it in that moment, Blade's going to have the opportunity to slice and dice him if he needs to. So like I said, height and distance is going to be the way to go for this. So that way Van Helsing has a really fighting chance at this fight. Okay, so holy water and garlic, not going to do anything, not going to do the trick for Blade here. Because Blade, surprisingly enough, is capable of avoiding vampires' weaknesses like sunlight and all that. So I'm not going to really do the trick here in this situation. Holy water either. So he's going to have to use probably 3 of these weapons. The dojo weapon is probably going to be necessary in this to kind of cut up a Blade in the fight, to kind of bleed him out, kind of wear him down, maybe cut a couple limbs for him to have to reheal and all that, just to kind of weaken him slowly but surely. Another thing, if he gets into a close fight with this guy, just so we're clear. Another thing is the grappling hook and the gas automated crossbow. The grappling hook, it might come in handy if he needs to create distance, or if he needs to, maybe he can use the grappling hook to strangle or wrap Blade around and kind of bleed him out. And that way, maybe the strings are going to be strong enough to hold him and maybe cut through his skin, making it difficult for Blade to get out. And he might bleed out in that way, or might get him drained, at least in that situation. Or with the automatic crossbow, let's get real. If he gets a really good shot enough, he could probably put Blade against the wall and then put his arms and his legs against the wall and then get a good shot right into the chest, like a bunch of clear shots. So, like I said, range is his best friend here. The last of the Hail Mary, if we're going to take this fight to a hypothetical scenario, it's going to have to be like this. It's got to be dark, it's got to be at nighttime, and it's got to be, for it to be Gabriel's chance of winning this, and it's got to be a full moon situation. He's got to be crossing his fingers that night he's fighting with a full moon in his sight, because let's remember, if you remember the end of the movie, he turns into a werewolf. And that means that he was capable of defeating Dracula that way. Now, Blade is strong against usually vampires, but going against a giant-sized version of a werewolf, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, especially one that could kill vampires. And he killed the main Dracula, killed the father who created all vampires. So that werewolf could probably do some damage completely to Blade. Blade is pretty strong, but at some point, if you've seen him in the Nomak fight, it was pretty hard for him to almost put him down. So I gotta say, with a big giant werewolf coming his direction and throwing down with them, I think at some point Blade's not gonna have a fighting chance, and he's gonna be, I would say, wolf chowder. As always, No Press fam, it's not up to me. It's not up to Biggs. It's up to you guys. So, if you guys like my argument, you know what you can do? You can hashtag Blade. And if you guys agree with my argument, you know what you can do? You can hashtag Ben Helsing. And as always, No Press fam, we really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.